So I'm sorry about the other video. Here's a quick one to fix the audio, hopefully. So I'm just going to recap the sample space diagrams again. So we just did about mutually exclusive probabilities. So what is a sample space diagram? Well, this is when we have two events. So far we've been asking about one event, like one football match. They either win, lose or draw. This is two events. So when we do this, we quite often do coins and we list the probabilities that could happen. So you can either get a heads or you can get a tails. And because there's two events, we might do another coin, another heads, another tails. And we put them along each axis like this. And this helps us list all the possible things that could have happened. So if on this coin, coin 1, we got a tails, and on coin 2 we got a heads, then the outcome was tails then heads. Or if coin 2 we got a tails, it's tails then tails, and so on. So it just helps us list what's happened. Now this is quite a simple one, but then it might ask you what's the probability of getting two tails. Well, the only time that happens, this is heads heads, heads tails, tails heads. Here's two tails, and it's 1 out of the 4 options. So the probability would be 1 out of 4, 1/4. Now I'm going to give you a more complicated example, just so you can do the questions, because this is more like what it's going to be. In fact, this one's probably harder than the ones you'll get, but just to give you an idea. So this says, these spinners are spun and the scores are added together. What is the probability of the total score being 4? So when we look at it, it's quite hard to imagine what all the possibilities are and how we can figure this out. But what we do is we draw sort of axes, not really axes, but for our sample space diagram, and we put all the options for spinner 1 and spinner 2. We put spinner 1 on one side, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and we put spinner 2 on this side, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. So these are all the possible things that could happen, and we check the question. It says they're added together. So what we do is we just add the scores. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3. And as soon as you've got the hang of what I'm doing, you can skip forward probably. 5, 6, 5, 4. So 1 and 1 is 2. 2 and 1 is 3. 4, 5, 4, 3. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4. So that's our sample space diagram. Sometimes these are called probability spaces as well, but in your book it's going to be called sample space diagrams. So now we're going to do the questions. So the first one says the total score being 4. I'm going to change colour so we can see what we're doing. So the total score being 4. And the way we do this is we just use our diagram to see when do we get 4. So here's a 4. Here, 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 and here. So how many times do we get 4? We get it 8 times. And how many different possibilities were there? Well, there's 6 along here and 4 here. So 6 times 4, 24. If you want to check, you can count them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. You get 24. So we just took the ones we wanted, which was 8 of them, out of all of the options. And that's all we do. So for B, I'll change colour again. We'll go green. The total being less than 4. So again, we're just choosing the ones that are less than 4. So we have a 3, a 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, a 3, and a 3. So how many options is that? Well, it's 8 again. Didn't realise that. And it's still out of 24. And of course we should simplify these to 1/3. And if I go back to the blue, this should be 1/3 as well. Okay, now the next question's a little bit different. Let's change to red. It says, no odd numbers on the spinners. So far we've been talking about the total score and the total. Now it's on about the spinners. So instead of looking at this middle section, we're going to look at the spinners, which are the bits on the edges. So no odd numbers on the spinners. So if we look here first, which ones of these are odd? Well, this one's odd. So we don't want an odd number, so we can cross out all the ones that's given by this odd number on the spinner. And we can do it here as well, and here. So this is spinner 2 I've done first. You can either get 2, 4, or 2. Now spinner 1, we don't want these ones because they're odd. So what we're left with? Well, we've got this here, 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 and here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6 out of 24. They're the only options. Okay, that's the only times when both spinners have even numbers. So 6 out of 24 simplifies down to 1/4. Okay, now the last one. Both spinners scoring 2. Let's go purple. So both spinners scoring 2. So this is, well, we look at the first spinner. That's a 1, so we can ignore it. 2, so we want this one. Ignore this, ignore this, ignore this, and a 2. So it's going to be all these ones is when spinner 2 gets us a 2. And here, again, we can ignore. It's this one and this one. So when do they both give us 2? Well, it's when they overlap. I realise this is getting a bit messy. If you were doing this at home, you could just draw another sample space diagram because they don't take long to make. But we can see you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them. So both spinners scoring a 2 is 4. And again, it's still out of 24. And that simplifies down to 1/6. And so we can see how before we drew the diagram, we didn't really know how to work out the probabilities, but as soon as it's drawn, it's just picking out numbers and it makes it much easier. So if I went back to this one, just for another example, it might ask, what's the probability of getting a 1 heads and 1 tails? Well, when does that happen? It's here, happens here, it's 2 out of 4, so half. Okay, so it's just picking the ones you want out of the diagram. Hopefully that's made sense. The classwork, it was all questions. You don't have to do the brains, but if you are trying to challenge yourself, then you should be. It's the extension. Again, sorry about the audio, but if you let me know as soon as you realise something's wrong with the video, I'll fix it as soon as I can. Okay, well, good luck. Message me if you struggle with anything.